Hello, Wentworth fans. Welcome to Talking Teal Season 6, Episode 4. Yes, I'm excited. And I'm also Liron Cohen.
And I'm also Mimi Torchin.
And we're Lady Parts TV. Thank you for joining us, as always. Before we talk about anything else, we must thank some very, very generous people. All of us, as a choir, must thank them this week.
People. And we can't even say you ladies.
No, now we have also a
gentleman caller.
That only this week have managed to make episodes 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9
Unbelievable.
happen. Now, I want you to understand, first of all, I'm going to say their names. Thank you, a huge thank you to Neil, Rachel, Denise, Eva, Sarah, and Kathy. You have heard most of these names before.
Over and over again.
And I want you to understand, we've now funded, you have funded 8 out of the 10 episodes. Hello, airplane.
That's okay. You know, we're in the world. We're not in the studio.
We have not, and even in the studio, they have to stop every 5 minutes for a plane. That you've now funded 8 out of 10 episodes that we needed to fund. But, so this was $2,000 by 14 people. 14 people funded 8 episodes. So I feel that if you are enjoying Talking Teal and if you want to show them your appreciation,
you can throw in a few bucks.
Then let's make the next 2 episodes to get to a full season. Let's do it like more of a joint team effort kind of a thing, okay?
And let me remind you that in addition to giving you the show, my wife has just been working 2 days on putting together all the information and the photos and reading the
it's okay.
emails.
Okay.
I just want them to know that this is not money so we can go buy candy.
Yeah. So thank you, amazing contributors. I also want to say I always am really excited when you people write us emails, but I also want to take a moment and say thank you to the people who have been writing week after week after week, probably for years now. We love you all so much. Your contribution is...
I don't know what we'd do without you.
Talking Teal would just not have been the same. You're so smart, you're so observant, you're so funny.
And we learn so much from you.
Not only do we learn so much from you, there's one part here where I will say, I love it when your emails make me go and Google things. Like when you make me do medical research and legal law research and all sorts of things. You're amazing, you're fantastic, you're a fountain of really great information, and we love you. So thank you, new writers, old writers.
Writers to come.
Talking Teal family, we love you. All right, now, a few of you have been asking us about the change of stance that we've had about this cancellation rumor. At the beginning we said don't panic until we know for sure, until it's coming out of the horse's mouth, we're not going to believe it. Then we said it's becoming more and more substantiated. So, again, we are not believing for sure anything until we've heard it for sure from the person in charge or somebody associated. But there have been several reports that felt fairly possibly true. So just in case, I mean, it doesn't hurt to sign a petition. It doesn't help.
Cost you nothing.
It doesn't hurt. I think we've been saying to people who have been asking us, there have been shows in the past, I don't know about Australia, but at least in the US, there have been shows that have been canceled, but fan campaigns managed to either get the networks to change their minds or get another network to think they're worthy enough to invest and pick up. So, it doesn't hurt for you fans to do social media campaigns to show how much love there is for this show.
And the bigger the better. Absolutely. The bigger the better. So just sign, write, do whatever it is you have to do. But let them know that the fans are there and want another season.
Yeah, now, there are other aspects to this, and I've been thinking about them. First of all, Prisoner, the original show on which Wentworth is based, did apparently run for 7 years. Now, 7 years in prisoner life were almost 700 episodes because it was a soap opera.
Yes, it's like dog years.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know if Wentworth always intended to be seven seasons, much like Prisoner, though again it's far less episodes. So that is a possibility that they've always meant for it to be 7 seasons.
Most series should have an end game.
Especially series like Wentworth that, well, and Wentworth actually is a soap that could go on for a long time with new characters.
It is, but
it's
also a series. It's not a daytime drama. It's a series, and it needs to have an end game at some point.
Now,
Although there's always Grey's Anatomy and Knots Landing and ER
Y&R.
and shows that have no, not the same creatures
right.
that have gone on for years and years and years and years.
Yeah, and it is interesting. It does feel right now. Many of you've mentioned that it feels like a new era in Wentworth because a lot of our familiar core family are gone. This is a bunch of new characters, a bunch of big
Fascinating
characters.
new characters.
Yeah.
I might add.
It feels like there's been like they've hit the reset button and we're starting afresh. And you're kind of conflicted about it. Some of you are very excited about the new characters. Some of you just can't let go of Frankie and Bridget, in addition to, of course, B still. Camille said, though I love my show after last week with Frankie, I could have easily been happy if it ended like that. I don't want my show to be like Orange is the New Black and become redundant and plain stupid. I don't think...
Not ever going to happen to Wentworth.
As we've said often, on its worst day, Wentworth is still 10 times better than Orange is the New Black.
On its best day.
Yeah. And it hasn't had a best day in a long, long time.
Although we have to admit that we haven't been keeping up with it. We just couldn't bear it.
That's part of the problem.
It was just so stupid.
There have been mentions, one mention of Frankie in this episode, and it's interesting to see if we will get more mentions of Frankie. Maybe giving you a little hope that we'll still see them, or maybe just making sure that you know that they acknowledge that it's a big departure and everybody's thinking and feeling. Eva went to see Adrift based on our recommendation.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I hope she wasn't looking for Frankie.
No, no, but inspired by Adrift, not giving away any spoilers for Adrift, but inspired by Adrift, she said maybe, and actually it's like a JR moment, not a JR, Bobby moment, maybe Frankie, after she was shot, she started hallucinating, and the entire rest of the episode last week was her hallucination. And she and Bridget did not, she wasn't acquitted. She and Bridget didn't go.
Well, that would be a letdown.
So, she's.
I kind of hope that's not true, Eva. I love you with all my heart, but I was pretty happy with all of that.
Yeah, well, she's just hoping that Frankie's still around. But the new season 7 that they're shooting now, did start shooting a little early, a little earlier than usual, and we did wonder. We thought maybe it's to accommodate Nicole for the pregnancy. And it could be, I suppose. Or maybe it also is a sign that they're wrapping up things. I don't know.
It could mean a lot of things. It could mean nothing.
But Denise wrote us something this week that I wanted to have the soap expert address. You are self-proclaimed soap queen.
No, I am not the self-proclaimed soap queen. I am the industry-proclaimed soap queen. But I went along with it.
Right. So you know a thing or two about soap operas and how they work. And
because I've covered a thing or two.
Denise says that because it's based on a soap opera, Prisoner, she said soap operas in the past, when Prisoner was happening, viewers were less sophisticated. They accepted more of the same repetition, going around in circles and stretching out stories for a long time. And she says she's not sure that Wentworth these days could go on for too long because viewers are too sophisticated to accept that. I thought immediately, well, Wentworth is not like Prisoner in terms of soap.
Right, it's a series. It is a serialized series, which are most of the most popular series now. I think, all of the reasons about why did soaps basically die, why there's only 4 daytime soaps, is because you get a lot of that, what will happen, a lot of that being very much into people's lives year after year, week after week, in regular primetime drama.
And that's because networks realized that in the old days when you only had 3 networks, and there were so many eyeballs that could go into each network, now they know they need to hook you on something. Back in the day, they wanted you to just be able to, iron while you have something in the background. Now you have to pay close attention, and you have to be interested and invested in the people's and characters' lives.
But in the defense of soaps are not as simple as they appear. Remember, soap operas were 5 days a week. There was never a repeat. They did an hour show every day,
All year,
5 days a week,
year round.
year round.
It's amazing.
And they had to parse out their stories. They couldn't give you uh, uh, what would be in Wentworth in one episode would have to last a few weeks, maybe a few months in a daytime drama, because they had to stretch it out, and they did that by concentrating on 3 or 4 storylines. They'd back burner some, they'd front burner some, they'd cut between them, they'd repeat some the next day, they'd repeat some the next week. There would be a lot of callback to something else. It would eventually get round to some sort of a conclusion, but they didn't have 12 episodes a year. They had 300 and some odd episodes a year, and by the nature of the beast, it couldn't go fast. It just couldn't. They couldn't. Who could write that much? I mean, it would be like 15 seasons of Wentworth crammed into 1 year. It's just not possible. And also, as far as the sophistication, yes, they did start off very simply. They started off on radio, and then they were pretty much kitchen dramas, sitting and talking over cups of tea and coffee and being about infidelity. But soaps became very, very sophisticated, and there was still repetition. But remember that they had to do a whole hour show every day,
which means they had to
days a
write
week.
it every day too.
That's right.
But also another thing that I think to me always bothered me in soaps, and that's another also because they had to stretch it out. In a show like Wentworth, because they only have 12 episodes, every episode packs so much punch, and there's a lot that is done and not a lot that is said. Every line is chosen very carefully because you don't have a lot of time, and whatever makes it into the show has to have a lot of meaning and weight.
Right.
On a soap, it's the opposite. You have to stretch time. So for every action, there's hours and hours of talking about the action.
And reaction, and reaction, and then reaction, and then reaction.
So what's interesting is they do on the soap what we're doing here. We are the ones, the viewers are the ones who are left for a whole week between episodes talking about it and discussing it and trying to figure it out.
Exactly.
Whereas on a soap, they do it on television. We don't need to do it
for you. Exactly. They do the analysis for you.
So we're participating in the soap right now by talking about it.
We are a part of the action, sort of.
So, winter is here.
Wow.
Boy, is she here. Episode 4 of season 6 was written by Andrew Anastasios. Also, I love that all of these very good core writers have been doing all the episodes so far. You really feel how strongly they're connected to this. Also, Fiona Baggs directed, of course, again. And I ran a little poll on Instagram. Again, I started too late last night, so only about 100 people so far have voted. But so far, 72% give this episode a thumbs up, and only 28 give it a thumbs down. Because I saw that again in
Who would give this episode a thumbs down?
This is why
so exciting.
This is
so
why
fulfilling.
I did this poll. Because I felt that it was fantastic, and then some of your emails were like, I could take it or leave it, or meh, So I figured, okay, so not everybody shared my excitement. But most of you did, it seems. So, how do you pronounce her name? Mari? Mari.
I thought it was Mary.
I think she sounded like Mari. Tell us.
Yes, tell us, because when I hear it, I hear Mary.
I heard Mari. But okay. Anyway, Susie Porter.
Remember, they have accents too, so.
Yes. Susie Porter, in one episode, has already managed to rock my world.
She is absolutely fantastic. She is so complicated. I just love her. She's kind of sexy.
Yeah, I think.
And I'm a slut. I mean, I'm easy.
First of all, the character is extremely complex, but also Susie Porter, I think, brings so much what I feel is class to the role.
Yes, she does.
There's just something very, very kind of reserved and formidable about her. And
she sets herself aside a little bit from the gen pop.
Definitely, and she says that herself. She feels that way. So,
but I'm glad she didn't want protection, because that would have been boring as hell.
Right. Well, and that's why she didn't want it, because it would have been boring as hell. Now, there's much to say about Mary, but before we do, I would like to start with Lily.
All right, Lily has something very good to say, which is that her arrival really brings an interesting dynamic between the women. Until now, we had Allie and Ruby, Ruby and Rita, Kaz and Will, etc. But it seemed like they were different storylines without connections. Now that Mary is here, she's like the missing puzzle piece. She connects all the characters together. She brought Kaz and Allie back together. She took Ruby and then Rita as a bodyguard. She was nice with Boomer. She's making business with the drug dealers, and she's trying to get close to Allie again. So it's a really, she's sort of making it a salad, you know.
Well, it's just a smart observation.
It is. It's a really good observation.
Because it's true, up until now it's felt very kind of
compartmentalized.
Yes, and now Mary is kind of coming in, and she's like this magnet that's drawing everybody to together to come together in the storylines. That
I think perhaps it's like an octopus.
Yeah, I think it's a very, very smart observation, and just for that, Mary is a huge contribution. Mary is a huge contribution to the show already.
Well, Lily obviously thinks Mary.
Yes, well, everybody's been spelling it differently, but I according to IMDb and everything I saw, it's Marie, I believe.
Okay.
So, he is one of the things, a couple of things that for me are fascinating about her. First of all, a statement like that she deserves to be here. She feels like she deserves to be here. She's very proud of her business. She's very proud. She, as you know, runs half of the brothels and strip clubs.
Although she feels that she treats her women very well.
Right, so she's very proud of her business side, but she feels that she deserves to be there for beating up the doctor.
The doctor, right.
So it's an interesting dynamic that she has going on in her own brain.
It makes you think that maybe violence isn't her thing, but on the other hand, she was pretty violent.
Well, here's the thing. She doesn't feel of herself that she's a violent person. And what really, really caught me, because yes, she's been saying, I always treat my women well, I always treat my... And then when that girl who obviously wanted to kill her because she had the scar on her face, and she said, you threw me out, you said nobody would want to fuck a scar face. And her reaction is to say, I would never have said that. And she looks sincere. Yeah. She looks genuine. So I'm wondering, has somebody undermined her and said that for her when that really wasn't?
Or did she say something similar, but this girl interpreted it that way? At any rate, she obviously didn't let her stay in the brothel.
Did she misremember things? Or,
I think it's true.
And I know this is a terrible comparison, but this is the first thing that came to mind, so bear with me. There's a book that somebody who was with my grandmother in labor camp in the Holocaust wrote, and the last thing she writes is that the capo who ran their labor camp was so certain that he treated his women well that he said, he went on the record in some magazine or something, that he said, if he ran into one of the women on the street now, he believed they would come and hug him. That is how deluded he was, especially because he was probably comparing himself to the couples around him. And she says,
I treat them... SS.
Right, and she says, I treated the girls better than the men in the industry do. So is she just that deluded about who she is and how benevolent she is, when in real life, as Denise said, she read about the original character in Prisoner, and she sounds like she's the devil?
Well, it's either that, or she does treat them better than the men in the business.
But that doesn't mean that
it's good.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a whole lot of levels to that.
But the fact that she doesn't even remember or doesn't think that that's what she said to that girl, and she again repeats it several times, I treat the girls really well, they wouldn't want to hurt me.
And she prides herself on it.
Yeah, so there might be a very big disconnect between who she thinks she is and who she actually is. And so if that's true, then the Mary that I kind of fell in love with, and when I say fell in love with, I mean in a very, from a dramatic standpoint, as she's going to be an interesting character. Maybe she's going to be much worse than I realize right now.
I think that there's a lot more than meets the eye.
So what do we know about Murray so far? Rachel gives us a little bit of a breakdown. So she's not at all ashamed of what she does for a living. Madams with large operations usually have large numbers of clients who are in power. It behooves those clients to keep Mary out of jail and happy. My bet is that USB is a client list, and the names on it could wreak havoc for a lot of powerful men.
Well, it's the equivalent nowadays of the little black book.
Right.
They
But we
always
were
had little
thinking,
black books.
but we were trying to think, what is that USB? This makes
It's
sense.
absolutely. I think it absolutely has to be a client list.
Now, what it made me think about is Channing, because Channing was also instrumental in providing girls to prostitution rings. So I'm wondering, is he coming back into the picture,
Oh God, I hope not.
or did they get rid of him really quickly to make room for her? Because up until now, he was the one who was mostly, had to do with that storyline of the prostitution, and now it's her. But we do know that Allie knew Channing from before, and she knows Mary from before.
But she knows them from different viewpoints.
Who knows? Who knows?
Oh, I don't think she was Channing's lover.
No. But were they involved in the same trafficking ring? Is what I'm saying. She has no loyalty. As soon as Rita steps up to save her, she throws Ruby out on her ass. This serves two purposes. First, she can let Allie believe she let Ruby go because Allie asked her to. Secondly, she now has a bodyguard who lives in her unit and will actually be around when trouble occurs.
On the other hand, she might have been very quick to recruit Rita so that she could do what Allie asked also.
So, yeah.
So
and
we're not quite sure. Exactly. Yeah. But we're not quite sure whether it was just, oh, yes, see, I did what you want, but I really did what I wanted. Or did she? I can do this, and then I can make Allie happy. Right. I can show her that I...
Especially since Rita is obviously a much better bodyguard than Ruby would be. She believes in paying for services. She would have no guilt about any of these women getting caught doing something for her. In her eyes, they were paid to take the risk. She sees herself as a businesswoman who always treats her girls well. This statement devolves later in the episode to, I treat my girls better than any men in the business. That's not saying very much, is it? She's a recreational drug user. She knows her stuff on the front and doesn't hesitate to put Costa in her place when Costa tries to sell her inferior gear. Costa backed off quickly, which tells me people on the street are afraid of Mary.
They know her.
She knows how to play Allie like the fiddle. More on that in a little bit. She doesn't see Kaz as a threat. Nothing Kaz says to her causes her 1 second of anxiety.
And I'm sure that first of all, she knows Kaz from the outside. And I think Kaz was a lot worse on the outside than she is on the inside, even as top dog.
But always toward men.
But she doesn't seem to, she seems to have her number as a weak leader.
Right. I think Mary has some more aces up her sleeve than anyone might think at first glance. My bet is she has people on the outside who will do just about anything to keep Mary safe while she's locked up. Another thing, by the way, when she comes in and Will takes her in and does takes her information.
The intake.
Yeah. They put emphasis, I don't know if it was a throwaway, but it seems weird that anything would be throwaway. They put an emphasis on her birthday, both when she says it and when he types it. 6/5/1972. I don't know if that's supposed to mean something.
Maybe that's going to be some sort of a code for the password for the USB.
Maybe. Interesting. Okay. What did Lily have to say about Mary?
Well, she had a lot to say, as do we all. Lily said that she's not just an empty shell brought on to serve other people's storylines. She has her own background, as we've been discussing it, her story and some previous complicated relationship with both Allie and Kaz. She definitely is a multifaceted character. She can appear fragile, weak, almost shy when she arrives and talks with Will and Vera, saying she won't cause any problem. And later in the episode, she's already into drugs and planning to start her own business. I think she's very good at manipulating and using people to get what she wants, and she's already started with Ruby. She's capable of emotions, so she's probably not a sociopath. Well, but I can't figure out if it's sincere or if it's just to manipulate a little more people. As her son is dead, she just doesn't have much left to lose.
That is
I think that's a very big statement.
Yeah.
She hasn't much left to lose.
We know that from being her daughter.
And with her blonde hair, her pale skin, her blue eyes, and the teal outfit, she's, for me, the perfect ice queen.
Let it go. Let it go. Sorry, I had to do that.
I know you did. I wish you... No, it's okay. I know you did. I think that I'm going to love to hate her.
I don't know yet. Right now I do. I hope, like with Sonia, I keep saying, I hope that you just give them enough for me to love.
Love them, not just hate them.
Sarah says...
Because we used to love Joan in the beginning.
Oh, how much I loved her. I loved her complications.
Oh, she was such a fascinating character.
Sarah says, there is more to Mary than she's showing. She presents a very calm, controlled persona, but the fact that she takes drugs, and seemingly have been for years, indicates she's hiding major baggage. Might Allie be her Achilles heel? I never thought of the idea that it could
the
be
other
a
way
flip.
around.
Yes.
That's very interesting.
So there are so many directions this thing can go, and they're all exciting to me. In conclusion, I will quote. No, you will quote actually, Rachel again.
Okay. All of this sets up some really interesting possibilities. Which side will Allie choose, Kaz or Mary? How jealous will Ruby get when she sees Allie with Mary?
I didn't even think about that.
No, because we don't think of them
Yeah,
as a possible couple.
Yeah.
And how violently will she react to it? How many more women from Mary's past will appear looking for vengeance? Who will get caught up in those confrontations? If Mary doesn't tread on the workshop, will she and Sonia form a mutual admiration society? That'll be an interesting power couple.
The point,
I don't mean romantically.
Yeah.
I mean,
I actually see them more as rivals.
I do too.
But yeah. The point is, though, just her coming in sets off so many possibilities that I find it exciting. Don't you?
Oh, absolutely. I love her addition. I think that it jacks up the
Jax.
stakes. Ah, yes.
She reminds me of her in many ways.
A little bit, except that she has a soft side.
Oh, definitely.
That Jax never had.
In terms of the power,
Jax was just a monster.
In terms of her power, and in terms of probably her connections outside, is what
I think Mary has real feelings.
I thought you were going to say a little lamb. Sorry.
It's kind of funny.
But
let me finish my sentence. Because you know what? I've forgotten it.
No, I'm sorry.
That's what happens when you interrupt an old lady in the middle of a sentence.
Or
it's
me.
completely
Same
gone.
thing. I'm sorry. You think she has?
I think she has real emotions, but I think she also has a trigger temper that we haven't seen yet. I think that she's capable of violence, but I think that she's also capable of love. I don't think that she is a sociopath.
I think she's probably capable of paying other people to do violence. I don't think that she's so capable of violence herself, and it's like beneath her probably.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's talk about the big controversy this episode: Mary and Allie and Kaz, the third wheel. First of all, I did an Instagram poll to see how you feel about Mary and Allie, the combination, like I did with Allie and Ruby, and you kind of split. 55% like it, 45% don't like it, the coupling. Now, I want to make a little statement because somebody asked me if we were shocked by Mary and Allie, and I said more like pleasantly surprised, and somebody wrote me a message and said, kind of, shame on you, it's not okay, she doesn't treat women well,
she's a young girl.
She got her hooked on drugs, you shouldn't be pleasantly surprised.
Would you wish that on my
daughter? Sister or my daughter, right? So first of all, I have to say, she's not my sister or my daughter, she's a character on a drama, and when I said pleasantly surprised, I meant from a dramatic standpoint, as to the story that could unfold, all the emotional depth that could be there.
And I do have to say, that they do have chemistry.
Excellent chemistry.
They have real chemistry. So, we're in a prison drama. Nobody in prison is really innocent of everything.
Right.
And
much like we can love Sonia and not condone the fact that she murders people, we can
with
love
glee.
We can love this relationship in what it has to offer us dramatically, in the fact that it's kind of hot, to us at least.
It's just fiction.
Exactly, it's fiction.
I mean, you don't throw away all of your moral, beliefs just because you're watching a show, but you do suspend your emotional. You do suspend the sort of reality, and you accept some things in a show that you would never expect accept in reality. Exactly. It's part of the escape.
It's part of the catharsis.
Exactly.
And also, by the way, this gives Allie finally a huge story and a huge character exploration.
Which I'm finally.
Exactly. So there are many reasons for us to be pleasantly surprised. I didn't expect them to be lovers. I didn't know that the love interest potentially wasn't Ruby but Mary. So to me, this works much better, and it has much more story to
And
give us.
resonance.
Mhm.
They have a past.
And I said when she said to her, "I was your lover, not your mother," or things like you're so grown up. It excited me. It was the story, the potential of the story that there is in there. I loved it.
And that fact that she had to say things like that does show that there's something, slightly off about it.
Mm-hmm.
But it is what it is. I mean, my wife and I are 34 years apart.
Well, I don't know if she was a minor. It was hard to tell
No.
from that ridiculous wig. I don't know if she was supposedly a minor when she
14 or
picked
15.
her up.
She seemed to me to be about 16 or 17.
She seemed to be like she is now. but
Anyway,
with a bad
she
wig.
in some ways, I think, saved her life.
Yeah. But then she got her hooked on drugs. But if she really was sincere, saying you weren't supposed to get addicted to it, if she can control it, she
Right.
expects other people to be.
Time will tell.
Exactly. I'm not trying to justify what it was, but it was. They obviously had something. They had something there. They had emotions. She obviously cared for her very
As she
much.
said, I took you into my house. You were a part of my family.
Which
you
she
saw
doesn't
her
do with other
playing
women,
with
I'm
Danny.
sure.
No. Yeah.
And Sarah is wondering if also a lot of her feelings now are mixed up with the feelings that she had for her son, because they were kind of a family for a while.
Right.
She remembers her with him, and as Rachel says, they also have a shared grief now, which is, as we know, a very powerful bond. We see all those people who would never even be together who have sex after somebody they love died.
I thought it was very clever segueing from Allie playing basketball in the yard to trigger the memories of her teaching Danny how to play basketball.
Mm-hmm.
It was everything counts. Everything is working right now.
And speaking of memories, my favorite scene, I can't explain exactly why I loved it so much, is when we see Mary remembering her in bed with Allie, and then we see Allie. And then, to me, that was, they were both thinking about it at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
They were both remembering. It was kind of bookends to the same memory. And it just, again, shows the bond that they have and how much they still have feelings for each other. And I really think they're genuine feelings from both of them, even though it was a destructive relationship, at least for Allie. There was some true feeling in there. Also, Rachel wants to say, because we didn't know what a king hit was that her son died from, remember?
Yeah, something from basketball.
It's a sucker punch to the head. Much like Ruby got the other day.
Exactly.
So I don't know if it was supposed to be an accident from sports, like you say, or maybe it was something that happened as retaliation because of her.
Exactly.
So if she's also carrying guilt for his death, again, like Bee and her daughter, very kind of a lot of parallels. But anyway, lots to explore there. Now, of course, we're all worried. We're worried. You're worried. Is she going to hook Allie on drugs again?
That's the only thing I would find unacceptable.
Yeah.
Not the only thing, but I would really find that unacceptable. Because Allie is weak, and...
but is she?
Well, I
is
think
she now?
She's an addict.
Yes.
Addicts are... and
always vulnerable to it.
And she's in prison, and there's a lot of reasons to want to escape from the world when you're in prison.
But Lily says Allie has grown up, she's strong now, and won't be manipulated so easily again. In addition, she made a promise to Bee, and I'm sure she will do anything to keep it. That is the key.
That's true.
And I'm sure Kaz will remind her of it if she needs to be reminded. Now, we did see her buy the drugs, but use them on herself.
I was really worried. I thought that she was going to use them
immediately
to hook Allie back and have her back in her power. But I was happy that it was only for her own use.
This time. So we'll see how long that sense of relief can last. Now, as for Kaz, as Sarah points out, she probably hates Mary even more than she hates the men she used to hurt, because she's a woman, and she probably even hates her more for being a woman who mistreats women.
Or who profits off of women's backs.
Yes, but she also gets them addicted to drugs. She puts them in danger.
We don't know. I mean, the sex trade,
that's what
the adult sex trade, is a bad thing, but there can be, as we know, it's legalized in Arizona, in Nevada, and it can be regulated, and people can treat their women well, and they don't, as long as they don't force them into being prostitutes. If she regulates it, keeps them clean, tries to keep them safe.
Well, we'll find out if she really does treat her women well, or if that's
So,
all in
yes,
her
we
mind.
will.
Rachel says about Kaz.
Yeah, she says she growls and snarls, but this top dog doesn't like to bite. It's a very good point. And I think Mary will figure this out pretty quickly.
She already has.
Yeah. Not to mention the fact that Kaz is stupid enough to be in a hall holding hands with Will.
We'll get to that in a second.
Oy, 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 oy. I'll say it again. Kaz is headed for a really bad ending. And now I'm not so sure she's headed for a really bad ending, but I'm pretty sure she's headed for the loss of top dog ship.
Yeah, I don't think she's gonna die soon. At least I hope not.
Oh, I hope not.
I love her, and I hope she stays.
Oh my God! First of all, she's a good presence. She's a steadying presence, and a caring presence. And anyway, I love Tammy
McIntosh. Yeah,
I don't want her to go.
Yes.
She's a wonderful, wonderful actress, and she's in for a long time.
Right, and I hope to see more of her character grow, actually. Nevertheless, all this being very true, I loved seeing Kaz in kind of lioness mama mode, you know. I love that this is bringing her and Allie closer.
She loves Allie.
She does, and now we're seeing more of their backstory. Hopefully we'll see even more. I loved their one-on-one, her and Mary, you know, like, I want you to know I bear you no ill will for anything that's happened. I want you to know I do. They had some great moments together, even with a little humor. So I like their dynamics. Also, so now she is in H3, as we know, not H1, Liz. She's in H3.
But that kind of gave me a little bit of pause. Is Liz going through early Alzheimer's?
Oh, we have many different theories.
Alzheimer's,
we have many different
or was
theories.
her mind just wandering?
We have theories.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
But now Mary is in a unit with Kaz and Sonia. And speaking of Sonia, she, to me at least, nobody said that, but she to me seemed to take an interest in Mary. She seemed to be observing him from the side, partly amused. But we can't ignore the fact that there are a lot of parallels between the two of them. They're both very
strong businesswomen
who can inflict violence but seem very delicate and, you know, classy. Yes?
But just to say that, I never believe a word that comes out of Sonia's mouth. I know that she's a lying snake.
That's true.
I do believe Mary, if Mary is lying,
for now,
she's a much better actress. She lies with a lot more warmth and conviction.
Yeah.
And I find them to be quite different. I find Sonia to be, especially when you put her next to Mary, much more artificial, and Mary to be much more real, and that's kind of interesting. Sonia doesn't hold up too well next to her, I feel, in believability.
Well, I think Sonia doesn't try. I think that's part of who she is. That I think both of them are used to being able to pay people to do a lot of things for them. And but I think you're right. I think Mary has much more of emotion,
and she has more natural warmth.
Yeah.
Talk about an ice queen. I think Sonia is the ice queen. I feel that you never see any real emotion from Sonia unless she's killing someone.
I think you're right. This is great because I wanted to ask you guys to tell me what you think are how in what ways are they alike and in what ways are they different. I think that's a very good point. And I wonder if the fact that they're both used to being, first of all, very big, ruling very big empires and being in control over things, using their money, that's something they do have in common. Will they clash over it?
Or will they bond over it?
And who will reign supreme? Now, Sarah says, and I think she's right, that Sonia is definitely not interested in being top dog. She's way too interested in herself and promoting her things. Being top dog is way too much work and bother and hassle for her. I don't know about Mary. She certainly is already sending her tentacles into all of the things that are happening in the prison. But I think there will be some interesting dynamics there.
Mary is used to being top dog. Mary is used to ruling over women, being responsible for their lives, for good or ill. And she would seem to me to be a very good candidate for top dog, especially if she uses others to mete out the violent aspect of it.
Now, I actually wanted to talk about. I was ahead of myself because I wanted to talk about Sonia. But before that, let me go back a second.
Okay.
Because the coupling, I was excited to see Mary and Allie together. But whom you were really excited about were Mary and Rita together. Not as a couple necessarily, but as the combination of the two of them, because obviously now she's her bodyguard and they have.
I think they'd be formidable.
Well, first of all, something that I noticed, I don't know if any of you noticed, but when Mary comes into the prison, she attracts Rita's attention. And at first I thought, well, maybe it's just because, new prisoners arrive. But no, she takes a specific interest in Mary, looking at her. And so you're all wondering if she knows her from before. If she knows her either because she was an officer and she was well known to police as a person of interest, even though they never managed to get her for anything, or from her days as a biker. Either way, there definitely seems to be more there than just getting acquainted in the prison. Sarah says, "Call me crazy, but Rita as Mary's bodyguard is very appealing. They are quite the sight walking down the corridor. New top dog and enforcer in the making. If that happens, I can see Rita being a bit of a conscience for Mary. Could be interesting." On that, by the way, just walking down the corridor, I'd like to quote Diana, who is a first-time writer but had some really, really interesting things to say. And she says, "What I loved in episode 4 was when Rita starts acting as Mary's bodyguard, Leah has the Aussie policewoman hip swing down pat."
Yes, I loved it.
I haven't really watched American Policewomen, okay, Cagney and Lacey, but that's another world.
They're detectives.
But due to the weight of all the gear they have hanging from their belts, guns, handcuffs, capsicum spray, baton, torch, kitchen sink, our policewomen walk with a hip swing, pushing the weight around their waist forward. It's very distinctive, and Leah does it very well. She also did the eye scanning thing of a police officer on patrol as well. If a law-abiding person like myself can pick up that Rita moves like a cop, I would have thought this would have struck at least one of the inmates. Certainly, Mary should pick up on it.
Now, see, I don't see that being as a cop. I see that being as a bodyguard. I see that being as someone looking out for someone asserting their dominance. She was a boxer, so she knows how to carry herself.
She looked like a cop walking around her. She looked like a police officer.
To me, she looked like a gangster.
Oh yeah,
she looked like an enforcer, and I think that her looking around is doing her job. It didn't make me think anything of a policeman.
Interesting.
It just didn't. I don't know why. In fact, I think that she felt policemen seemed burdened by their weight. She seemed quite liberated and assertive. Yes.
Interesting.
Nobody mess with me, nobody mess with her.
She definitely has the attitude.
She has a swagger.
Yeah. Now, is she her bodyguard just because she wanted the opportunity to let Ruby go and to take her place, as she's been doing left and right over everything? Or, here are some theories. Let's start with Rachel.
So Rachel thinks, I think we may have discovered who Rita is there to investigate. While they did a good job setting up a smokescreen about Rita not wanting Ruby to continue as drug mule for Marie, it's that USB Rita is after. She jumped just a little too quickly to get in Mary's good graces. Rita will establish a relationship of trust with Rita by putting herself on the line. But like I said before, Marie has no Mary, this is spelled Marie.
Well, that's how she spells her name.
Has no loyalty, and my bet is she doesn't trust anybody. This won't be as easy as Rita thinks it will.
So you think that she's there as an undercover cop to investigate?
I think it's
Mary.
an interesting. I think. Well, I don't. I mean, I think that she may be there as an undercover cop. But how did she know that Mary was going to beat up a doctor and end up in prison?
So here are a couple of things. We have a couple
That's
of
something
we
that
have
she would have had to have known to have gotten arrested to be there to look for this USB.
well, we have a couple of alternative
Okay.
or sometimes complementary theories.
Oh, excuse me, I yawn when I read out loud.
So here's what Lily says. Here's my crazy theory about Mary and Rita. Rita is definitely an undercover cop. She infiltrated the bikers club to investigate a drug traffic, and while in the club she discovered something more interesting, Mary's business. She heard about Mary because the biker club is her official drug provider. That's where she buys the drug that she gives to the girls. Rita found out that Mary is buying drugs, using young girls for her business and making them addicts to keep control and power over them. So she decided to continue her investigation to incriminate Mary. In addition, Mary has already been judged and sentenced. She wears a teal outfit while Rita is still waiting for her trial and she wears her regular outfit. Rita could have been aware of Mary's sentence and imprisonment in Wentworth. That's why she voluntarily made a mistake to get arrested and be imprisoned in Wentworth while waiting her trial. So this is one theory. Now Denise, who has a lot of information about Prisoner, which can be very good but very confusing at times, has another theory.
Okay, Denise says, my prediction for Mary and Allie, Mary is going to try to get back with Allie. Kaz is going to try to protect her, and Rita will protect Mary, which means a showdown between Kaz and Rita. Now, what is really interesting about this is that in Prisoner, Mary Winter was constantly at odds with B. Smith. However, B is dead.
Shocker! Spoiler
B is
alert!
dead? Oh. So now they will use Kaz in her place for this storyline.
Interesting.
Rita, in Prisoner, was constantly trying to be top dog and continued until the last episode of the last show.
I still wouldn't have expected
No,
that.
me neither. It's interesting how the writers have used storylines from the original, but intermingled them with other stories, so it's not exactly the same.
Not at all. B was already dead. Here she's,
Yep. A good example of this was that in the original, Mary was the one who dosed B with magic mushrooms that made her hallucinate. In Wentworth, it was Ferguson, of course, who had her hitman give B LSD before Jody Spiteri statement.
Well, this is why I say that it's confusing, because on one hand, yeah, you can use that as a kind of a starting point, but then they take it into all many different paths and directions, so you don't really know.
In some ways, although I feel my voice resonating. It's very strange. It's sort of like Handmaid's Tale, in that they finished with the book now, but they're still riffing off of both the mood, the characters, the background, to move the story forward in a different way.
But here they're kind of going back and forth and back and forth. It's not even beginning and then going off. They're kind of going back and forth. It's a very interesting dynamic, and it really could go anywhere.
Anything.
But I think the idea of Kaz filling in for B in the storyline could be an interesting thought. Yeah. So Rita and Mary got you all excited. Speaking of Rita, who is still someone we love to watch.
Well, I would hope we hadn't gotten tired of her yet. It's only been a few shows.
No, but they don't. Again, she doesn't have much of her own storyline. It's just little bits and pieces as she relates to other people. Diana, who is a big Leah Purcell fan, as we are now, she says that Leah Purcell is also a writer and director. I looked her up, and indeed she does write and direct. And a lot of what she works on usually is serious Indigenous people's dramas. She said, apparently, I didn't read it myself, but she said that she managed to get involved and contribute to her storyline with Ruby, which now Diana says, which means that there is some serious drama mixed into the soap opera, which she thinks leads to a little bit of clunkiness. I think it's a great contribution.
Oh, no, I like it. I think it gives it a certain amount of social consciousness.
Absolutely. When the season started and we started saying, oh, so they're throwing these little bits and pieces about racism, and I thought, this looks more like what should happen in prison in Australia.
Absolutely. And there were so few Indigenous people in prison. That also seems sort of strange.
Yeah. So I love that she's going to contribute more serious social commentary. So, a few things. Rachel says, and I do wonder about that, because Lily said Rita is there, she's still dressed in her clothes because she's waiting her sentence, but she already says to the biker guy who comes to visit her, she says, I'm here for 12 months, which means I'll be out in 8 for good behavior. So she already knows how much time she's serving, so that means she's already been sentenced. So why is she wearing her
I don't
own
know.
clothes?
She asked in the beginning if she could keep her leather jacket, and they said yes, as long as she took the patches
Right.
off. So,
But she should
Jax, as I recall, was always dressed. Not always, but for a
No.
long time was dressed in
I don't
regular
think
clothes.
so.
Oh, I see her in my mind's
I
eye.
don't remember.
Tell me if I'm wrong.
I don't know. I'm confused about that.
Yeah.
Now, another observation from Rachel is that the biker guy is obviously head over heels in love with her, and he's willing to go to prison
Yes,
instead of
he's
her.
he seems like a big softie,
He does.
doesn't he?
However, it does seem like she's just kind of being nice to him. She's not as in love as he is in love with her.
That happens.
But that could also be further evidence that she is an undercover cop and that
Mhm.
she's maintaining the relationship for that purpose. And in that case, I wonder, I know it has nothing to do with anything, but that's how my brain works. I wonder if this is not a real relationship, then who is she more into, women or men? Because there is that throwaway thing that Ruby says in episode 2, I believe, when she and Allie are kind of, flirting, and she wonders why Rita is looking in that direction, and Ruby tells her maybe she has the hots for you. And I don't know if that's just Ruby joking or if Rita is more into women. I know it has no...
She could be fluid.
She could be many things. I know it bears no meaning actually on the show. It
Except
just
that
bears
you
meaning
wish
from me.
everybody was a lesbian. I know.
Not everybody, but some of my favorite
Everybody.
people. For their own sake. Now, Diana has something to say about Rita's timeline, because we're all finding it very confusing, and she has something to contribute from her own knowledge.
Yeah, I find it very confusing too. Please enlighten me.
Well, she has we don't know some of the cultural goings on in Australia. So this is something that she says should be fairly known to most Australians. Rita was a police officer in the community where her family lived. She was probably boxing as an amateur at the same time. When she was in pursuit of a stolen car, the car crashed and the driver died. Ruby was injured. Presumably, Rita was exonerated when the accident was investigated. But in terms of Indigenous customary law, she has taken a life, and there needs to be payback. The most expected payback of killing a member of an Indigenous community would be banishment from the community for life. That's why, as she's leaving, Rita says to Ruby something along the lines of, things won't settle in the community while she's still there. Community also has a deeper meaning in Indigenous usage. Being banished from your community is almost worse than death, like being in purgatory. That's one of the reasons why we have an appallingly high rate of suicide in our incarcerated Indigenous population. Australian law has sent them to prison, but the effect is to banish them from their community, which is incredibly painful in all senses. So,
it's quite interesting.
Seeing that we have zero knowledge of this, we'll take your word, Diana. If some of you know otherwise or have something to add, we always want to be educated on all matters. So please let us know. But
well, in
that
case,
could provide an explanation.
Also, then Rita made an even bigger sacrifice to put herself in jail.
Right.
Because she's
but she's there for robbery, isn't she, or something like that? Not for actually hurting.
Except that she didn't do it, and she's taking the fall for her boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
He keeps coming in. When he said in the last episode that he wanted to come clean, he couldn't bear the fact that she was in prison for him. So whatever she's there for, even if it's just to protect Ruby, she's separating herself from her community even further, and it must be very, very important to her.
Well, from everything she's done so far, she seems to be an extremely selfless person.
Yes.
Either because she carries so much guilt about what happened to Ruby, or just because she is such a mensch, which I think she is.
I think she's a truly, truly decent human being.
Yeah.
A really good person.
I love her.
I do too, and she's a fabulous actress.
Yep. Rita and Mary, interesting things that could happen there. Now back to Sonia. I'm interested also in that dynamic, because I'm telling you, I could see Sonia observing her, slightly amused, but that's just because she has a lot of... Yeah, I mean, because she's like, she's checking her out, seeing, evaluating her. But she also she has a lot of hubris, Sonia. She thinks she's above everybody else. So we'll see if she and Mary, we'll see what happens there. Now, everybody wants to lag this year. Sonia wants to make an ongoing arrangement out of lagging to Vera. Kaz wants to make an ongoing arrangement out of lagging to Will. What is going on? Is somebody
they're gonna have
throw
to
away
change.
the rule book?
They're going to have to change the name of the show to Lagging and Loving It.
I don't know, but she definitely kills two birds with one stone by this arrangement that she had with Vera. She first of all she found the perfect patsy for the murder
For her
of Gilmer.
murder, yes.
And I say the perfect patsy because she was her girlfriend, and it was 28 stab wounds definitely could count as a crime of passion.
Or insanity.
Yeah, and she also gets the workshop back. Now, two things about that. First of all, about Spike. She's being hauled off to,
wherever she's being hauled off to.
The hole. What do they call it? The slot.
The slot.
The slot. I believe that's where she's taken. Now, my question is Spike at any point going to become a real character, or is she going to just keep providing this kind of being a plot device?
A plot device. I don't know.
Because if she finds out who pinned the murder on her, in addition to being angry already that her girlfriend was murdered, she could be an element.
Yeah, and she's a very violent character.
Very violent character. Now, when it comes to the workshop, Lily's asking, why is the workshop so important to Sonia?
I was thinking that very same thing, just as we were discussing this now.
Well, I have three answers. One is that she wants the good PR. Don't forget, she's a businesswoman. She has
PR. If there's anything she knows, it's PR.
Exactly. She might be just a prisoner, but she's very good at PR. But seriously, she's a businesswoman. Don't forget, she has this humongous empire outside that she's hoping to preserve so that when she goes out, she still has a lot of money. And
do you know what kind of an empire? Oh, my voice just went up so high.
Do I remember?
Do we know?
No, I don't remember.
Please tell us.
I think they may have said something, but I don't remember. Anyway, she needs for the public to know that she is wrongfully in the prison, but while she's in the prison, as she said, with women that she doesn't belong with, obviously, she's doing her best to beautify the prison, to do better the girls and to contribute to society.
Right.
Yeah, so this is important to her so that when she goes out, she'll still be respected. The second answer is it's probably going to be good for her trial. It's going to look good for the judge. It's not only an exemplary, not only an exemplary inmate, she also even contributed. Third, which is a possibility, when she started the workshop in season 5, then Frankie and Ferguson used it to escape from. The workshop wasn't there long enough. We don't know if she had another reason for the workshop that we never found out about it because she never managed to get the chance to do.
We do know it's very important to her, though. Very important. So.
Plus, she's also bored, probably rigid, and this is something that she can keep herself busy with. She's, I'm sure, a person who's used to being busy all the time.
Well, it's sort of becoming a character all of its own workshop.
Now, it could be that it's also, in season 5, I would say it was also very important to her because it was important to the writers so that Frankie would have a way to escape. We don't know yet if it's also important for the writers to have the workshop back up in season 6 as another place where something important will happen. Now, Vera, who I guess didn't assume that she killed Gilmore. I don't know why. I thought that she, in their exchange in episode 3, it seemed like she knew. Yeah. But she's happy to have somebody to pin it on, no matter what, just for her PR. Problems. First of all, I think she will regret doing business and making deals with this insane woman. What are you thinking, Vera?
Yeah.
Must be very desperate.
Nobody ever wins when they deal with the devil.
Now, I'm extremely amused that the article said that they had shitty security. We've been saying that for years.
What article?
That article that made Vera want to make the deal because it said, are the Crims running Wentworth?
I mean, come on, people.
Maybe now they'll change their camera system. Maybe now. Maybe it was even more important to do that than make a deal with Sonia. Just saying. Also, she and Vera and Mary have this talk about motherhood. We see Vera's face. Obviously, she's still contemplating. She hasn't made a decision yet. Either way, she's still trying to figure out what to do with the baby. So that's a Vera. Now, if we're talking about Sonia, we have to talk about
Boomer.
Boomer.
Yeah.
First of all, even though I think she's still very much struggling, kind of between Sonia and Liz and what's going on, she still hasn't found her place. But seeing her with Sonia again is so hilarious. When they sit there at that table outside and make fun of Juicy, one of my favorite things. Also, that conversation about we should do an inventory. No, we should.
No, we should count everything first. Same thing.
It's gold. Every time they have an exchange, it's gold.
I love it. I just love it.
Now, Boomer is having a hard time, and in addition, she was eating some razor blades.
Right.
I do love it that she said, though, that it's okay, she owes me for Liz. So she was a little humorous about it, so maybe she's warming up to her a little bit. A small deviation, 1 second, because we're talking about how they were making fun of Juice. Neil has a prediction, because I was asking, why is she even there? Why did they bother bringing her back? And he said that he thinks she is there solely to, when Ferguson comes back, to kill her. And I was like, oh yeah, that makes so much sense. And then I was like, wait a second.
When Ferguson comes back.
Why am I assuming she's coming back?
Because we're all assuming she's coming back in one way or another. And I hope it's by...
paranormal activity?
No, just, yes, haunting will. I do not want that woman's corporeal body back in this prison.
So, just that little aside about Juice, because I think
But
is
it's
interesting.
an interesting idea. I think
very
it's
much.
a very interesting idea. And if I could look forward to that, I could let her come back, although, digging your way out of it.
Because it would be very fitting that the person who had her tongue cut
out.
out would be the one to kill her. Also because she could bear the consequences at this point. It doesn't matter. So back to Boomer. She has a new ally in Ruby, which served two purposes, possibly. Finally, maybe we'll like Ruby a little better.
Yeah, it did. It softened Ruby a little bit. It gave her some humanity that she's been lacking.
Yeah, because it doesn't seem like she could have any ulterior motive to this, other than she probably feels sympathetic because after her head injury, she was probably struggling with tests too. So
and
I like
she said that she's not good at tests anyway.
Yeah.
And but her arrogance is so overweening.
Yes, but now her little
it was sweet. I liked it.
Yeah, and Boomer could use maybe somebody of more of a Frankie essence to be chummy with. That little
that
was
little
very
tickle.
very reminded us of her relationship with Frankie. Also, there are two physically powerful women, though Boomer is very much admiring of Ruby's skills because Boomer just bashes people. Ruby knows how to do it.
Finesse.
So that could be an interesting alliance there. Now, Rachel has a prediction.
Well, Rachel says, I think I know how Boomer and Sonia will break up. Are we assuming Boomer and Sonia will break up? Anyway, she says, what if Boomer passes the test and Sonia won't take her back because she doesn't respond well to people who walk out on her?
I don't think that.
I don't either, but let's see it. Let's see what Rachel says. I think the Boomer Sonia days are almost over. That will free Boomer up to become an enforcer for Kaz. Kaz knows that Boomer enjoys a good bashing, and she's fiercely loyal. Kaz needs someone on her side for the fights that are to come. Kaz promised she wouldn't use Ruby, but she never made any promises about Boomer, and she needs someone who can bite or she won't last long at all. I find this, even though I know that she's pro-women and she doesn't want to hurt women, I mean, Kaz was a very violent person in the world.
Yes, but I think Kaz she always had somebody else beating people up for her. I don't think she did a lot of the violence herself. She has some strong women around her. She has a posse.
Yeah.
She could definitely use another enforcer, and I think there were some foreshadowing remarks about that. But I don't want Boomer and Sonia to not be together. I love them too much together.
That would be a sad breakup. They're very funny. They're sort of the comic relief of the show.
And they're adorable. I mean, I love Sonia best when she has these little exchanges with Boomer. But I do want
It's
Boomer.
like the Hulk and Ant-Man or something.
And she does she constantly is with her. She does, even though she sometimes looks down on her because she does. She also tries to build her up.
She does. She tries to teach her things and try to make her feel better about herself. She seems to show a little bit more humanity when she's with Boomer.
Yeah, I love that. I think that we need that from Sonia.
Boomer brings something soft out in Sonia that otherwise isn't there.
Yes, because she's not actually, I would expect her to be patronizing. She's actually not.
No.
She's kind of mature,
She's gentle.
nurturing, and
Mhm.
yeah, I love the relationship. I want to keep it going, and we need to see Sonia in that capacity so that she could, we could love her more.
Mhm.
And now let's talk for a second about Liz. The
Liz,
forgetfulness, the absent-mindedness. What is going on? So there are some theories. You said maybe early onset Alzheimer's. That's something that I haven't heard before.
Oh, good.
Yep. Diana says, I don't know how to pronounce this, Wernicke-Korsakoff, which is apparently a disease that happens when alcoholism makes the body deficient of vitamin B1. That's what I mean when I say I love it when you send me out on research.
Yes.
So it causes B1 deficiency, and then it could lead to all sorts of mental problems. However, at least from my research, I think that it mostly happens to active alcoholics. I don't think that it happens to so much when you're already sober, because I said that first of all, the way to solve it is to stop drinking. So I think that that's not very likely. However, who knows? Maybe years of abusing alcohol can lead to all
I
sorts
know
of
that it
problems.
leads to strokes, so she could be having TIAs.
That could be too, small strokes.
Mhm.
Very true. Also, Lauren says that some of the talk in social media is that she's going to have some mental problems, maybe mental health issues, because she's been so broken down. I don't know if that's what they meant, but that's what I interpreted it as. Rachel is asking if she's having a brain tumor.
That's an interesting thought.
Now, I have a different theory, because it makes us question, how will this all factor into the role she's supposed to be playing in Sonia's plan of her defense?
Mm-hmm.
Will it make her testimony not credible? Will it, all these things? So my question, and I'm giving Liz a big benefit of the doubt here, or big credit, is she faking it?
It's an interesting thought.
Is Sonia faking it? Is Liz faking it so that she could have a way out? Because otherwise she has no way out from Sonia. So this is,
It's an interesting idea, because Liz has been showing a little bit more backbone.
Yes, and she's been showing kind of like this smug arrogance, a little bit of smug arrogance, and she's been very kind of lightweight about it. I expected her to be, again, walking around like a crazy person as she's been going around thinking, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And she's been kind of like reading her magazine, oh yes, jasmine blossoms or whatever it was. She seems kind of like, meh. So,
maybe she's starting to feel she has nothing to lose.
Maybe. I am hoping that this is going to be Liz's smartest strategy yet.
That's true. She wandered into the
to medical.
To medical.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All sorts of things. So, or she could be having a serious health crisis.
Exactly.
I hope it's not going to kill her. All right. So, finally, we have Will and Kaz and Jake. So, Will is hallucinating quite badly.
Well, he's got to stop chewing. You say it's caffeine. My guess is that it's Imodium, because his bowels are in such a twist over his anxiety.
Some nervous bowel, yeah. Well, the hallucinations could be a combination of both the fact that he hasn't been sleeping well and whatever pills he's popping.
And guilt.
And guilt, absolutely. But his hallucinations seem very real, so it's not just guilty conscious, it's an actual, it materializes as hallucination.
Well,
so he hears things and he sees things.
Right, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but he also is having episodes of violence that he doesn't remember.
Like uncontrolled. No, he remembers. What did he not remember?
He sort of stopped and looked around and
couldn't
couldn't believe what he'd done.
Yeah, but I don't think it's not remembering. I think it's like, myself, all of a sudden getting a grip of himself and like, oh my God, what have I done?
I think it's that he sort of went off into something that he didn't even realize, and then stood back and went.
This is why I'm saying that I think that Liz burning herself on the hot water because of him is foreshadowing of that his condition will cause some damage to somebody. And my guess is Kaz, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
But so he tells Jake that he buried Ferguson alive. I love it that Denise says Jake looks positively shocked, as if he hasn't done a slew of horrendous things that he dares to pass judgment.
Yeah, but burying someone alive is a pretty big deal.
Now, I was thinking, Lauren says he probably is too good a person to just shoot someone. But I would think it would be easier if you're a good person to just shoot somebody and be done with it, than rather than bury them alive.
Exactly. He seemed shocked that Jake would have thought he would have. What did you expect me to do? Shoot her?
It wouldn't that be a little more merciful than
Yeah,
burying
I think
somebody
so.
alive? And why didn't he? Why couldn't he just shoot her?
And I wonder
Maybe it's because it's like
why she never noticed. Oh, I guess maybe she never turned the light on. That B's picture was over her head the whole time.
No, she couldn't have turned the light on because she was trying to go undetected. But maybe there is a little bit of logic to it. Maybe it's easier to just like bury the problem and not think about it rather than shoot somebody and see them actually die in front of you. I guess it's possible.
Who put the picture? Oh, I'm sure Allie did, of course.
And she had the picture.
Yeah.
So Jake now knows that he buried her alive. He's asking, where did you bury her? For now, Will is not telling. We'll see how long he manages to do that, because his condition will probably make him blabber on to somebody at some point, something he shouldn't say. But Sarah wonders if Jake, now that he knows she's been buried somewhere, if he's going to go look for her.
Oh, it could be anywhere.
Any number
and
of
everywhere.
Places, I don't know. Now, as for Jake, Rachel says that next week, she read a blurb, that Vera is contemplating abortion, and Jake does something selfless to save Liz from something, and so again he's like the good guy, and so will that make her change her mind? I don't know. Jake is not a good guy no matter what he does. So
Jake is not. I think Jake is a very weak guy, and I think that's his problem. I don't think that Jake is a totally bad guy. I think he's a weak guy who does bad things when he gets into bad positions.
Which is why I can't really trust him.
Exactly.
And we can't entrust our Vera with him.
No, definitely not.
I hope she knows that.
She knows that.
Well, we'll see. That blurb kind of made me nervous about that. Now, Will and Kaz, holding hands in the middle of the hall. First of all, what was that butterfly flyer that he posted on the board?
I don't know.
It was interesting.
They'll come back to it. They have to, because
either that or it was just a way to have him in the hall and have her come.
Well, he could have just put something up with words.
I guess so. I guess so. So Diana says, Diana has an interesting idea. She says what she wants to see between Will and Kaz is the opposite of frigid. She says she wants to see Will actually uphold his ethical duty and not get involved with Kaz. But she said, there could be plenty of tension just from them not being able to be together but wanting to be together, or slowly getting closer but having to stay apart.
I guess I'm a minority, but I don't see that happening between them. I see a friendship. I see a mutual trust.
Did you not see the hand holding?
Sort of, no.
No, when she says, she looks at his hand and says, "What happened to your hand?" And then all of a sudden, and she does this, and then all of a sudden she catches herself and they let go.
I'm not feeling it. I'm feeling friendship between the two of them, but I suppose it could be developing into something. I missed that.
It doesn't have to be a hot, heavy romance. I think that they are two lonely souls who found warmth and solidarity in each other in a very, very ugly and cold place. So it doesn't have to be that they're insanely attracted to each other and can't wait to get in each other's pants. It can just be that they feel,
a kinship.
Yeah. Denise predicts that there will be a big fiasco involving Kaz, Will, Jake, and the investigation into Ferguson, and that Kaz will be the one saving Will this time. We'll see how. In the preview for next week, we know that the triangle of Mary, Allie, and Kaz is going to play a big role in episode 5. And we already know that we have a talking teal for episode 5.
Thank you again.
Yes, so get your pens and your keyboards and everything ready, and email us, ladypartsvlog@gmail.com about the new episode. And again, we have 2 more episodes that we need to fund. Otherwise, we're good till episode 9, and we give you the finale. So we just need 10 and 11. So go now. There's very little left to do. So, there are obviously a lot of you are watching. So if you can just give a little bit, each one of you, let's make it happen. And this was fun.
I enjoyed it very much. I hope you did.
We will see you next week. Thank you for joining us as always.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.